Welcome to the Dignity Leadership Learning Lab. I'm Leadership Leah, the Chief Education Officer, and this is my esteemed and very excited colleague, Leadership Leo, the Chief Instructional Officer. We are on a mission to take you from being a management monster to a leadership ace. If Rich can do it, so can you. Ready to launch in 3, 2, 1.
The topic of this course seems a little too obvious, but I've seen my fair share of managing monsters, like these two devilish task drivers going through the monster machine right back there. Leaders are people who are followed. They are the ones who provide direction and make things happen. Without followers, leaders can't do anything. Whether it's at a corporate retreat, in the conference room on a Monday morning, or halfway up a mountain on a team building exercise, you don't have to go far to find a self proclaimed leadership expert. There are tons of these ego driven gurus who can tell you all about the qualities of leadership and give you some insight into what makes great leaders stand out from the crowd. Just ask them. But one thing that every one of these self titled leadership experts should be able to tell you is this: if nobody is following you, you are not a leader. Hey there! In this module, we'll be covering the basics of leadership through the lens of the follower. I know what you're thinking. Leadership is about being a leader, not a follower. But here's the thing: how can you be a great leader if you don't know what it's like to be on the other side? That's why we've created this module. We'll see how your follower experience can help you become a better leader. Then, we will reveal the demands of the post-COVID-19 era followers. Just like everything else, followers have changed as a result. Finally, we'll discuss the importance of feedback. Ready to dive in? Let's get started. A leader is someone who provides direction for others, someone who clarifies where the team is headed as an organization and how everyone is going to get there. A leader is someone who makes things happen, who motivates and mobilizes employees to do their best work by being an example they want to follow. Without followers, a so-called leader can't do anything. They only can guide themselves. So in addition to the question, do you have what it takes to be a leader? You need to ask yourself if the team trusts you enough to follow you. You've probably been a follower at some point in your life. Maybe you were the kid who did everything your parents said. Or maybe you were that student who always followed the rules. Or perhaps you were an employee who never has a problem doing your job and following instructions. Whatever role you play as a follower, it's probably likely that experience will enable you to be a better leader. Why? Because no matter how good of a leader you are, everyone was at one time a follower. And that means you know what it's like to be on the receiving end of someone else's leadership. You know what it's like to stop trying because your boss is only focused on the company's bottom line. You know what it's like to feel like your boss has no interest in actually helping you or teaching you. In other words, you know what it's like when your leader really is just a manager who lost touch with the human element of work. But guess what? You can't stink as a boss, not if you want to keep up with today's workplace. According to human resources experts, followers today expect more from their bosses than they have before, and they're demanding that companies adjust accordingly. Followers want their bosses to serve as coaches and mentors, not just taskmasters. They want them to be open to criticism and feedback. They want them to make decisions that are both informed by data and considerate of the team's needs. And they also want their bosses to encourage a healthy work-life balance. If you're feeling unenthused about your boss, don't fret. You're not alone. One survey of more than 30,000 people revealed that employees consider coaching and mentoring to be the most important aspect of their relationship with their manager. In fact, followers want far more than just a taskmaster. They want a person who listens and is open to criticism and feedback. The data comes from a survey conducted by Gallup, which asked people what they look for in a good boss. The vast majority answered that they value coaching and mentoring above all else. The survey also revealed that employees are looking for bosses who are willing to listen to criticism and feedback, who focus on strengths rather than weaknesses, and who have high ethical standards. However, though these qualities were highly valued by the respondents, only 3% thought that most of their bosses actually displayed them. The relationship between followers and leaders in an organization is a powerful thing. If a follower feels respected by the leader, whether that's a manager at work or the coach of your sports team, they will often place a high value on their relationships with the rest of the group. They'll bring energy and passion to their work, and they'll feel invested in the success of the whole organization. It's not that they are simply doing what they're told, but rather they respect the vision of their leaders and want to see it come to fruition. On the other hand, if followers don't feel respected by their leaders, and this can happen for many different reasons, then they are likely to feel alienated from the organization and its goals. Their motivation will wane, and they may even start actively working against the mission of the group. It could be something as small as complaining about a project or instigating a small scale conflict among coworkers, or something more serious like leaking confidential information or even sabotaging hardware or software in some way. Have you ever worked in an organization and the boss asks for feedback, but then they rarely utilize it to benefit the team or the goal? Unfortunately, an untrained leader believes the feedback as a personal attack on his or her skills. Skilled leaders have learned how to receive feedback. Most managers have not. In order to best receive feedback, you must adjust your personal filters to understand the true meaning of what is being said. If we look at the feedback in its simplest form and take a step back, we can learn about ourselves and our team. We must remember that we're all doing the best we can with what we know at any given time. After taking a step back and looking at our experiences, critical thinkers understand that no one is wrong in their approach, but rather each person views the world through their own personal filters. Feedback can be incredibly beneficial if done from a place of service and not from a place of control and fear. When leaders master this skill, it helps us to see other perspectives that may have been missed otherwise. If you want to create an environment where followers can thrive, you need to listen to them. As the leader, your job is to check in with the people on your team and ask them for feedback. You need to make sure that they know that you are listening and that you care about what they have to say. When followers feel like their voices are being heard, it builds trust and loyalty within the organization. If you want your team members to stick with your company for a long time, make sure you show them that their opinions matter. It can be very tempting to ignore what your followers are saying or dismiss their feedback, especially if it's negative. But whatever you do, do not do this. This is like having a check engine light come on in your car. Your car's computer is telling you that something's wrong with it. Ignore it, and it might cost you more than a simple trip to the mechanic. You might find yourself without a ride. Your followers are your customers, and as such, their opinions are important. They are the ones that are buying your product. If they're telling you something isn't working for them, pay attention, especially if more than one person is saying the same thing. When you dismiss your followers' feedback, you're not only missing out on an opportunity to improve the experience of your existing customers, you're also missing out on an opportunity to learn how to serve future customers better. One of the worst things a manager can do is ask for input and then ignore the people who give it. Managers should not punish or overlook employees who are honest. To establish multiple lines of communication, leaders must listen closely to what is being said, not what they want to hear. Not everyone speaks up during an organized meeting, and everyone has a preferred communication method. By focusing too much on control and end goals while not enough on people and what they bring to the table, you are making it more difficult to achieve the goals of the team or organization. Basically, if you want your organization to be successful, you need to respect your people. You can't lead if you don't have followers. With all of this in mind, it's easy to conclude that the most successful leaders are those who listen to their team, treat them like equals and partners in their endeavor, and empower them to do their best work. In short, they lead by example, and they build a trusting relationship based on respect. After all, if the people you're leading don't trust you or feel like you aren't valuing them, then what good are you? Looking for more leadership guidance? Look no farther than the Dignity Leadership website at www.dignity-leadership.com, or check out the Dignity Leadership Live podcast on your favorite streaming service by searching Dignity Leadership Live.